Yes, I can.
Okay, great. I'm going to gavel this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Pasadena Area City College Board of Trustees. It's Wednesday, August 19th, 2020, and this is regular business meeting number 6. And we are going to start off with agenda item A1, roll call. And Alex, are you handling roll call and roll call votes today?
Trustee Osterling, I noticed, I don't think that this is actually being recorded. I see that it's live, but I don't see the recording button on. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you for turning on the recorder, Alex. Okay, Alex, are you conducting the roll call?
I will be, thank you. Trustee Chen Lau.
Okay.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Silver.
Here.
Trustee Waugh.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Fellow.
Here.
Trustee Osterling.
Here.
There you go. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Buckelheid. Agenda item A2, public comment on closed session agenda items. Do we have any public comment on closed session agenda items, Ms. Waugh or Mr. Buckelheid?
No comment received for closed session.
Okay. Therefore, thank you. Therefore, we're going to recess to a closed session. And in this closed session, we have 3 agenda items. Number 1, Government Code Section 54957.6, Conference with Labor Negotiators. Agency designated representative is Robert S. Blazinski, Assistant Superintendent, Vice President of Human Resources. Item number 2, Government Code Section 54956.9B, Anticipated Litigation, 1 case regarding workers' comp, claim number 522041. And lastly, Government Code Section 54957, Evaluation of Employee Superintendent President. And at this time, we will recess to the closed session, and we anticipate reconvening at 7 p.m. Thank you, and all trustees go to the closed session Zoom meeting. Thank you. I'm gonna go ahead and start the meeting. Okay, we are reconvening the regular meeting for the Pasadena Area Community College District. This is our regular business meeting number 6. It's Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. And we're reconvening after a closed session. And in that closed session, the board took action on 1 agenda item. Agenda item number 2, Government Code Section 54956.9B, Anticipated Litigation, 1 case regarding workman's compensation claim number 522041. And the board voted to authorize our HR and outside legal counsel to with limits to settle the case, and that motion carried unanimously. Dr. Androgianis, is that a complete report?
Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. I wanted to make sure I covered all of the details of that. No other action was taken in the closed session. We are now going to go to roll call, and for that, we'll go to Mr. Buckelheid.
Thank you. Trustee Osterling.
Here.
Trustee Chen Lau.
Here.
Trustee Brown.
Here.
Trustee Silver.
Here.
Trustee Waugh.
Here.
Trustee Martin.
Here.
Trustee Fellow.
Here.
Thank you. I'm now going to go ahead and do our standard procedure for a remote meeting, so please bear with me for a second. I'd like to make clear for the record of this meeting, and it should be reflected in the minutes, that this Board of Trustees meeting is conducted pursuant to California Government Code Section 54953, as amended by Governor Gavin Newsom in Executive Order N2520, dated March 12, 2020, in that all trustees are at their residences and all are participating by remote video or teleconference. I'd like to request that each trustee in turn respond to the following questions. I will start with Trustee Osterling. Trustee Osterling, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear the proceedings until now?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Next, I'd like to request that Trustee Chen Lao respond to the same questions. Trustee Chen Lao, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Next, I'd like to request that Trustee Silver respond to the same questions. Trustee Silver, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
Yes,
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
I do.
Next, I'd like to request that Trustee Wah respond to the same questions. Trustee Wah, can you hear me well?
Yes,
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
yes. Sorry, my dog wouldn't clear. Sorry.
Let the record show. You have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes, sorry, wrestling with this husky.
All right. Next, I'd like to request that Trustee Martin respond to the same question. Trustee Martin, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Next, I'd like to request that Trustee Fellow respond to the same questions. Trustee Fellow, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Great. Next, I'd like to request that Student Trustee Ramirez respond to the same questions. Student Trustee Ramirez, can you hear me well?
Yes.
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
Yes.
Great. I would now like to ask that any member of the Board of Trustees speak up at this time if they have not been able to clearly hear any trustee.
You did not ask me the questions.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Brown. Pardon me. Trustee Brown, can you hear me well?
Yes,
Were you able to hear our proceedings up until now?
yes,
Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry to leave you off.
No problem.
Hearing no comment on hearing other trustees, the record should reflect that all trustees present have indicated that they were able to hear all other trustees clearly. I would like to request that any trustee speak up at this time if such trustee has any reason to believe, based on voice recognition or otherwise, that any person representing themselves to be a certain trustee is not truly so. Hearing no comment, the record should reflect that no trustee has expressed doubt that any trustees are the parties participating by teleconference. I would now like to advise the trustees and the public that any votes taken during the remote conference portion of this meeting must be taken by roll call. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. It's time for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'm going to go out on a limb here and try something. I see Dr. Candace Jones as one of our attendees here. Dr. Jones, if you are available, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? If not, we'll do a fallback position.
Sure. And it's just Trustee Australian. It's not Dr. Jones, but.
I promoted you.
You did, my friend. But I'm happy to lead
Candace.
All right.
Okay, take it away.
Thank you. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Ms. Jones. And also, I wanted to thank you for having Neri help me get my email back working. So thank you for that too.
No problem, anytime.
Okay, here we go. We are now on to agenda item number 4, which is the approval or reordering of agenda items. Do we have any requests for reordering agenda items?
Yes, Mr.
I see Dr. Fellow. You have the floor, sir.
Sure. I would like to make a motion to postpone item number 3 dealing with Proposition 15 and item number 4 dealing with Proposition 16 to our September meeting. I'm still looking at these. I will take a vote this evening if the trustees don't want to do that, but I would like to do that. And I think we have to rewrite our resolution for 16. There was a problem.
Okay,
Wait a minute.
yeah,
You can't have, what you can do is pull the item. The board can agree to pull it, but you shouldn't make any comments.
There was concerns about it. That's why I'm doing it.
yeah, okay. So thank you. We have a motion to pull agenda items. Help me out here, Dr. Fellow.
Item 3 and 4.
Okay.
And
Thank you. Items
Second.
I3 and I4. Do we have a second?
I think John did.
John Martin.
Okay. Mr. Martin has made a
I have-
second.
I have a point of order.
A point of order, Dr. Androgenis, please.
Okay, I was also going to request that I9 be pulled by law 2610 for further research and conversation. So would you like to add that to the motion? As I can't make a
I
motion.
would,
I have no problem.
I would accept
Yeah,
it
and
as the second.
okay, and Dr. Androgenis, which one was that you would like to pull?
I9.
I9.
So
Okay.
that means the
All
motion
right.
I3, I4, and I9.
I3, I4, I9. Okay, moved and seconded as amended to add item I9 in addition to I3 and 4. Let's go to a roll call vote, unless there's any discussion.
We have a
Mr.
discussion before you
Buckelheim.
go for a vote. Point of order. We have discussion before
Yes,
you go for
yes,
vote.
we can. I didn't see any hands up. That sounds like Ms. Waugh. Did you, certainly, do you have any discussion?
Yes, I would like to recommend that both the discussion of Prop 15 and 16 remain on the agenda for discussion. The board may choose to vote or hold vote later, but I do think there is a lot of advocacy going on right now. These items are coming up for vote in November. While it's not critical that we accept it, I do think it's important that we have discussion on it.
All right, thank you, Ms. Waugh. Any other discussion on removing those three items from the agenda? I see John Martin, Trustee Martin.
Thank you. So I would normally say those who have followed my comments in the board for some time will have heard me say this before, but looking around the Zoom, because I can't look around the room, that may not be very many of you. It's been my standard policy to try to leave as much politics at the door when we come to these board meetings. And in the past, I've been extremely reluctant to support any position on any state proposition as a PCC board. I've got two simple reasons for that. Number one, the same people who assigned us to and voted for us to work in the best interest of educating students at Pasadena City College make this decision. I serve other boards, and there's a lot of things I don't tell them what to do. But my number one reason is we have a long history on this board of tremendous mutual respect. There's been a long history that no matter where we are politically, we usually have a lot of collegiality and a lot of civility, that we address issues carefully, but most importantly, that we all share a common mission of doing the best education for our students within the district of Pasadena City College. And the more we allow the political issues to come in, the more the college and the district and our votes start to become secondary tools for other political aims.
Enter your meeting ID
And-
followed by pound.
Yeah, I agree. So no matter what the position on these propositions, I would be against them just because I don't think it's the right interest of the district to be voting on these. We as individuals, of course, can go out and recommend whatever we want. I'm sure we will, but that's been my long-standing position, which is why I'm supporting this motion.
Okay, any further discussion by the trustees before I call for a vote?
So I have my hand up.
Trustee Waugh.
So I do respect Trustee Martin's opinion. I think that that has been sort of the tradition. But I think some time ago we did say that if there are issues that do affect our students that could help and where we could be helpful in promoting actions which will help our students in our districts, that we should go ahead and take a stand. So we took stands on resolutions to support anti-hate. Many districts don't do that because they say, well, that's our normal procedure. But I think it's important for us to also show our support for some things. I think that these two propositions are both widely supported and strongly supported by both the Chancellor's Office and the League. Both of them have sent out requests to all the districts to ask for support to take a position. I think when we show a support of the districts across our system, it does speak to the legislators. I think that these are both directly impacting our students and our success in our districts. So once again, I recommend that we leave them on for discussion.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Waugh. Any further discussion by any of the trustees? Trustee Brown, you're on mute. There you go.
I would actually like to hear some discussion because I agree with both sides, but I think when it comes to our students, if this is going to be helping African-American students, Latino students, it's important for us to have a discussion to see what is it that we can do. So I'll be interested in having a discussion. So I support what Trustee Waugh is saying. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Brown. And I'll just add my own comments in conclusion. There are several thousand bills that come out of Sacramento every year, and a good number of those have some implication for education. And I don't believe that we need to feel that it's imperative that we vote on every possible item of legislation or every possible ballot initiative. Our job is to run the institution or direct our superintendent to run the institution and vote on matters affecting the institution. And I don't think that we have to be a quote unquote League of Women's Voters type voter guide for our voters. They'll make their own decisions. So I don't feel that it's imperative that we weigh in on these. As it relates to one of the propositions, the impact to the students is really in our four-year universities. As we know, we accept all students of any of whatever ethnicity and grade point average, et cetera, et cetera. I don't want to start discussing the issues. I just question how relevant that one is to our students. So that's my contribution to the discussion. Any other discussion by any other trustee, please raise your hand before I call for a vote. Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that these items be removed from the agenda today. And I'm going to call for a vote. This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Bucklehide.
Just as a clarification, sir, it's a motion to postpone to September, I believe, correct?
Yeah.
Trustee Fellow, what was the motion?
It's a motion to postpone.
Okay.
Thank you. Student Trustee Ramirez.
No.
Okay, point of clarity, sorry, point of order, because I'm the second. We also added the I-9 issue in here. I think it would be cleaner to just have the motion to remove them from this agenda. And then if the administration and whatever want to put them back on in September, that's another topic we can have, but I was under the understanding it was just to remove these. I'm not sure, like in the I-9 case, if they'll have time to do whatever they need to do to get back on before September anyway. I think it's cleaner just to remove them and then let the administration, and we have a legislative committee, take it from there.
Yeah.
I look to the motion, the maker of the motion, and
I agree with John.
Okay, thank you, Tony.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Fellow. The motion has been amended as just described by Trustee Martin, and it would be to remove these from the agenda, and then they would be returned to a future agenda or not, and with the timing determined by the administration.
Thank you.
All right, and a yes vote, just to be clear here, would mean that these items would be removed from the agenda. A no vote means these items would remain on the agenda. So I'm now going to again call for the roll call vote, and we'll go to Mr. Bucklehide to conduct that vote.
Thank you. Student Trustee Ramirez.
No.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
You're on mute, Berlinda.
No.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
No.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
That's 5 ayes, 2 nays. Student Trustee nay.
Okay. Thank you, everybody. And those items will be removed from this month's agenda. And we are now on to agenda item 5, introductions and recognitions. Superintendent Androgianis, do we have any?
No, we do not.
Okay. Anybody else? Any other introductions or recognitions? Hearing none, we're going to move on to the next agenda item 6, which is public comment on non-agenda items. And Ms. Wah or Mr. Bucklehide, do we have any public comment on non-agenda items?
We do not have public comment on non-agenda items. I do have public comment for item F5. So when it comes for that, we'll pause for public comment there.
Okay, yes. And Mr. Bucklehide, if you could remind us when we get to that agenda item. Thank you. No public comment on non-agenda items. We are now going to move on to agenda item number 7. This is to approve the minutes for our prior regular business meeting. That was meeting number 5, and it was held on July 15th, 2020. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
And do I moved and seconded, and roll call vote, please. Again, Mr. Bucklehide.
Certainly. Student Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
0 with the student trustee aye.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. Agenda item number 8 is next, board committees reporting out. Do we have any? Trustee Fellow.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to mention that the KPPC Oversight Committee will meet Friday at 1 p.m. It's just a general discussion with their staff, and should be an interesting meeting. Thank you.
And I assume that'll be available on Zoom.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Any other board committees reporting out? Trustee Brown.
Yes. So, so the policy committee met on August 7th, and we discussed and updated policies, and we brought them. You have them here in your package today, and we are asking for your recommendation, for your approval, sorry.
Okay. Thank you, Trustee Brown. Any other board committees reporting out?
Well, I guess I could
Okay.
report, this is Linda. So I guess I could report
Yes.
out on the legislative committee. So we did discuss the two propositions, and although they're being removed, I'm just going to say that the discussion was around Proposition 15, the school's first split roll tax. So this has the potential of bringing a substantial amount of money that was by closing loopholes that was formed in Proposition 13. So that corporate loopholes would be closed. This is one of the reasons it's has the ability to really produce substantial funding to all of the education. So this is one of the reasons the Chancellor's Office, as well as the League, is recommending that all districts support this. And under Proposition 16, which is by Weber, this is the repeal of 209, which eliminated affirmative action in California. So the resolution that Dr. Androgenis has on the agenda that just got removed does discuss the implications and this of how affirmative action has really hurt many of our disproportionately impacted students. And so I know there was a question about what the API statistics were. I actually have a link which I can type in, but it does show that API students were actually not, even though there was an increase because it eliminated quotas that UCs were putting on the API students, it actually increased, it decreased before affirmative action was eliminated. So they actually had better numbers than before 209. So all of these, and as was in the chat, some of the comments are in the chat, both of these propositions have the potential of transformative change throughout our system. And this is one of the reasons we believe that the districts send a message to our legislators that these are both important propositions. I also have a report out on the DEI committees. These are statewide committees. So is that the same, or is that separate? Oh, it's a separate one on 9. So
that'll be on the very next agenda item. And in fact, we'll go to that right now. Agenda item number 9 is board member statewide committee report. So carry on, Trustee Waugh.
Yeah, so on the diversity, equity, inclusion committees, I am really proud to say that Pasadena has that our board has been very actively engaged in this effort. We have 4 trustees who are working on 4 of the work groups. Work group 1 is diversity hiring. Work group 2 is the mission statement and the EEO plans review, which I know is on our agenda. And I hope we have further discussion on it. Work group 3 is on mentoring and professional development. And work group 4 is on exit interviews and employee evaluations. So trustees Ramirez, Osterling, Silver, and myself are on each of those groups. So the deliverables, the Chancellor's Office has made a call to action on 6 actions to eliminate racism and to increase equity for our students. So the work groups are asked to bring subject matter experts. And the way we did this is 4 of these work groups are centered around the 6 calls for action. We have about 40 trustees, community members, and students working on these. And so the deliverables are due like within 6 months. So at the end of December, and then again, another sweep of deliverables in the following June. And the questions that the Chancellor's Office has asked all districts to ask themselves is, why is an anti-racist campus culture important for student success? And what are your top 5 recommendations for how system leaders in similar roles as you can help lead anti-racism work on a campus? And provide examples of how you and the districts are initiating structural changes, and what tools or dialogue have you used to help lead or are currently leading to advance anti-racism in your campus culture? And why do you believe these transformations will help more students persist and succeed? And so this is also a call to action for trustees to more actively engage and to also change our culture of being more than just initiating policies and approving, but to be more actively engaged in moving the needle. So anyway, so I'm really proud that PCC is so actively engaged in this.
Thank you, Trustee Waugh, and on behalf of Trustee Ramirez and Silver and myself, thank you for volunteering us for this important work. Okay, we're going to move on to items, the consent calendar items. And as we have done in the past, we're going to have a single vote or what we now call the combined consent calendar for items E through J, which includes a student trustee vote. And then when we get to item H, E through G, pardon me. And then when we get to item H, personnel, we'll treat those consent items separately. So before we do the consent vote, is there any request that we call any items off of the consent calendar for a specific discussion on that item? And seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and call for a roll call vote. And this first roll call vote will be on consent calendar items E1 through G18, and that's for students, instruction, and business. And roll call vote, please, Mr. Bucklehide.
President, I think we need a motion, and I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Oh, pardon me. Moved. Thank you, Trustee Fellow. And do we hear a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded, and now we'll go for the roll call vote.
Can I just
Mr. Bucklehide?
Can I just have a discussion on one of the items? It doesn't need to be pulled. I just want to know if I can ask a question.
So
Can I
can
I make a point of order here? I'm sorry.
Let's do the point of order,
okay.
and then we'll go back to Trustee Chin Lau.
The point of
Dr.
order
Androgenis.
is that included in that consent calendar is the item that we received a request for public comment, and that I believe is F5. So before you vote on it, I believe Alex needs to read the public comment so that you're informed before taking the vote.
All right. Or do we want to pull it separately or just leave it in the consent? Okay.
You don't need to pull it necessarily, but Alex does need to read it, and then you can decide if you want to pull it based on what he reads.
Thank you for that point of order. So what we'll do next is we will have Mr. Bucklehide read the public comment pertaining to item F5, and then we'll go back to Trustee Chin Lau.
Thank you. This comes from a woman named Marla Felber, and she writes this. My name is Marla Felber. I am a native Californian and who has lived in the San Gabriel Valley since 1994. I have volunteered for a local school district, lent my experience to professional boards, and sat on PCC's Measure Peace Citizens Oversight Committee. Thank you for offering the extension courses for 2020 and the 2021 school year under these difficult circumstances. The courses offered are a good start. However, I believe more community input is needed to better determine what classes should be offered to older community members. The Emeritus program offered at Santa Monica College has a broad range of courses that allow continual learning and socialization with peers. It has been an invaluable program for my parents, who are both in their 80s. They have not only met new people in the classes, but socialized with them outside of class. While most adults' friend groups narrows with age, this is not the case with my parents, which I believe is a direct result of the Emeritus program. The community in the San Gabriel Valley could easily support an Emeritus program at PCC. The community is highly educated and could financially support such a program. Classes would help the community see PCC as more than an asset for educating the young. Instead, it could create a community that values lifelong education. If you determine that an Emeritus program would be a valuable asset to both PCC and the community, I would be happy to serve on a committee that provides community input to help an Emeritus program. Thank you for your time. And she closes with her mailing address.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. And Trustee Chin Lau, as I understand it, you have an item that you want to make a comment on, but you do not request to pull it for a separate vote. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Sure.
Which item?
It's the one on contracts. So several months ago, I have asked President Andronis and her team to see of the contracts that are awarded from PCC, how many or the dollar amount of those that are awarded to local businesses, as well as minority businesses. And I understand that they have some preliminary numbers to share with us. And I would really appreciate a reporting of those numbers.
Dr. Andronis.
Yes.
Is this something that you can report on if it's not on the agenda, or?
Well, I believe I can. I just need to pull it up.
Okay, we'll get that report from Dr. Andronis, and then we'll call for the roll call vote. It's been moved and seconded already to approve all of these consent items.
So I do have a comment on item F5 since public comment was read.
Okay, let's go to Trustee Wah while Dr. Andronis is looking for that report. Trustee Wah, comment on consent calendar item F5. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, and I don't need it pulled. So just because Ms. Felber is actually in my area, in Area 5, and I am familiar with the Maritime program that she is referring to at Santa Monica. So while I do really appreciate the extension classes that are offered through our community, I often ask how our community is polled to see which classes they want. It's not clear to me how input is given from community. And I do think it's important, especially where we have communities of lifelong learners, and we're trying to build affiliation and relationship, not just with our K-12s, but also lifelong learners in our community who eventually come out and support our communities, our community colleges with bond money or foundation money. So I do hope, I don't know how the Maritime program is actually formed. I have asked Santa Monica myself. I don't know, Dr. Andronis, if you know, but it would be, I think it's worth discussion if we could explore some ways to really help build that affiliation among our lifelong learners in the community.
Well, I can answer both of those questions. I can answer both this and then the previous question. The first is that I've recently begun a real deep dive into extension and how we make decisions about classes and how we manage that whole area. So I hope to be coming forward with some more information on that in subsequent meetings. So noted.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then as for the second question, in terms of looking at our contracts with local businesses, minority owned, we have a much improved process, but it also, one of the concerns that we have that we're trying to manage is the fact that we have to rely on vendors self-identifying. But what I can tell you is during our last month's contracting, in terms of local vendors, we had $167,500 of contract work with local vendors. We had $63,000 with small business owners, and we had $63,000 with minority-owned businesses. What we do not have right now are statistics on women-owned business and disabled veteran business, but that's something that we're working on. But that's what we have for the last month, and we'll continue to work to get this data, these data points in future contracting.
And I appreciate that. Certainly it's been some time coming, and I know that the work that Mike Bush and you have put into finding this data and tracking this data, has certainly been important. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Superintendent Androgenis. And I believe we're ready for the roll call vote on all of the consent calendar items E through G. So Mr. Bucklehide.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chin-Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Waugh.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
7-0 with student trustee voting aye.
Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. And we're now going to move to the consent calendar agenda item H. This is for personnel and the student trustee does not vote. Before I call for a vote, do I hear a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Do I hear a second? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. We'll call for a roll call vote on agenda item H, personnel consent calendar item.
Trustee Chin-Lao.
Mr. Bucklehide.
Trustee Chin-Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Waugh.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
7-0.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. We are now going to move to agenda item I, which is action items recommended for approval. And we'll start with I1. This is the receipt of the fiscal year 2018-2019 TCC Foundation financial audit. Do we have a presentation on this?
I will turn it over to Bobby Abram. I don't believe we have a presentation, but I think she can introduce the item.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. I will just let you know that I'm happy to present this, and I'll just make a few points. Once again, our assets are above $30 million. We're at $31,649,237. I also wanted to just make sure that you knew this was for the fiscal year ending June 2019. This took an extremely long time this year to get the audit completed. Part of it was because we have a new rule about how restricted funds have to be calculated. So you'll see that there's only 2 sections this year, not 3. Instead of unrestricted, temporarily restricted, and permanently restricted, we just have simply funds with restrictions and funds without restrictions. So we've gone from 3 categories to 2. I do want to also just point out that our functional expenses, I'm very proud to say that 75% of our funding went directly into programs, with only 12% in management and general expenses and 8.4% in fundraising expenses. So with that, we just submit it to the Board of Trustees. This has already been reviewed and accepted by the PCC Foundation Board, and we're pleased to present it.
Thank you, Ms. Abram. And I see Trustee Martin's hand is up.
I was going to move to accept the report.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Trustee Chin-Lao, I see your hand is up.
Yes, certainly this is great for the fiscal year, FY20, and we know that there's a tough road ahead, and so I really like to encourage the foundation with what they're doing and to continue what they're doing, because we know that fundraising is hard right now across the board, especially for nonprofits, and there's a hit to educational foundations. So, I know that Bobby's job may be a little harder next year, and I hope that she will get the support from all of us to continue to raise money for the foundation.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Trustee Chin-Lao. Any other comments on this agenda item? I'm just going to reiterate what Trustee Chen Lao just said. Thank you for all of the support the foundation provides for all of our students, and now more than ever, what you do is so important. And of course, it's just going to be all the more challenging in the economic climates we're in. So we wish you Godspeed in this current fiscal year.
Thank you.
Okay, we've moved and seconded. I see a hand up. I see you there, Trustee Brown. You have the floor. Sorry, I missed you.
I just wanted to thank you, Bobby, for all the hard work that you have been doing for the foundation, for our students. I think you are doing an excellent job. And I have no doubt that because of how you do things, we are going to be able to continue to support our students. I sat into a few, I guess it was the last 2 meetings, and I was just impressed at the way everything is organized, all the committees, they are really moving forward. And I think PCC is just so blessed for having you and your team taking care of our students. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, it's time for our roll call vote. Mr. Bucklehide, and this is on I-1, receipt of the fiscal year audit for the foundation.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
7-0 with student trustee voting aye.
Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. We're now moving on to agenda item I-2. This is to adopt resolution number 654, approve the GAN appropriations limits for 2020 to 2021 fiscal year. Do we have any discussion or presentation on this item, Dr. Androgenis?
I will defer to Dr. Mike Bush to introduce this item.
Okay. Take it away, Dr. Bush.
Thank you so much. This is a constitutional obligation of the district to do this calculation. The calculation was originally intended to limit the growth of state government. It was passed by Proposition 4 back in 1979 on the heels of Proposition 13 and Proposition 111. So it allows state government to grow at the per capita increase in personal income as well as the population. But in order for the state to know how much they can grow, every LEA needs to calculate how much of the GAN is attributed to us. It's largely pro forma at this point because the limit has increased far greater, far faster than the state's ability to make the payments. As you can see on our form, our limit's 260,000 or 262 million, and we're at 135 million. So, but it is our constitutional obligation to do this calculation.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Bush. Any questions or discussion on agenda item I-2? And I don't think I've asked for a motion yet. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, we're going to go to a roll call vote. Mr. Bucklehide again.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Aye.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
7-0 with the student trustee voting aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. agenda items I3 and I4 have been pulled. And so we're going to go on to agenda item I5. This is Board Bylaw 2220, Committees of the Board. Before I call for a motion, is there any presentation or discussion?
No, there isn't. These are all straightforward policies unless trustees have questions about them. And obviously we do have the policy and committee members here to discuss if there are any concerns.
Let me try something to see if we can possibly make the meeting shorter. We have board bylaws are for items 5 through 8, 9 has been pulled, and 10 through 13. If it pleases the board, we can vote on all of these at once, but I don't want to preclude any separate discussion. So if anybody would like to discuss any of these bylaws, raise your hand and we can vote on them separately. So I see Trustee Ramirez and Trustee Silver. I'm going to start with Trustee Ramirez. Is there a particular bylaw that you would like to separately discuss?
Can I request to pull Board Bylaw 2725?
Okay, 2725 is item 10, so we would vote on that one separately if this plan will possibly work. And then Trustee Silver, you had your hand up.
Yes, on I8, Board Bylaw 2365. That's for keeping the recording of the Board of Trustees meetings for just 1 month. And I would like to increase that to 1 year. We are already actually keeping video and audio back from 2016. It's already on there. So just to kind of make this more close to match what we're actually doing.
All right, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to call for a roll call vote on agenda items 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, and 13, and then after that we'll have separate votes on item 8 and 10, which were pulled by Trustees Silver and Ramirez. Do I hear a motion? Trustee Ramirez.
Have the agenda items been changed since the resolutions were pulled from the agenda?
You mean the numbering?
I'm not sure I understand the question. The agenda items that were pulled from this meeting's agenda are items I3 and I4 and item I9, and the numbering has not changed. They're still on there with the numbers that they had.
Okay.
Does that answer your question, David?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'm going to call a roll call vote for agenda items 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, and 13 in one vote, and then we'll have a separate vote for 8 and a separate vote for 10.
I don't think you have a point of order. I don't think you have a motion, do you?
No, she doesn't.
Linda, I believe you're correct. Once again, you've caught me trying to get to that vote before we get a motion. Do we hear a motion to approve as a blanket vote 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, and 13?
I move approval of those policies.
Second.
I'll second.
Okay, moved in second, and again, roll call vote. And again, this is on 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, 13. Mr. Martin.
Just a quick comment.
Yes, sir.
First, my appreciation to the committee, who obviously did a tremendous amount of work with so many of these on agenda. So thank you. And second, specifically on 2220, which is the board committees, One of the things that I was concerned about earlier when a rendition of this came through was delegating authority to a subcommittee to make a decision. And I'm very pleased that that did not happen. And in fact, 2220 specifically says all committees report to the board for a final decision. The reason I was concerned about that was I did not want to see us get in a situation where we start having powerful committees who, with people jockeying for positions to get on certain committees, where decisions were being made in subcommittees. I'm thinking in particular where this would happen would be in the finance committee, which I happen to be the chair of, and I don't want any part of that. I don't think that's healthy for the district. I think the way we've been doing it, as long as I can remember, is very, very healthy. So again, my appreciation to the committee and specifically my appreciation on 2220.
Thank you. I concur. So moved, seconded. Any further discussion before we do a roll call vote? Seeing none, Mr. Bucklehide, please do a roll call vote for items 5, 6, 7, 11, 12, and 13.
Student Trustee Ramirez. Student Trustee Ramirez.
Sorry, yes.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Waugh.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Pello.
Yes.
7-0 with student trustee voting aye.
Okay, that motion carries unanimously. We're now going to circle back and we're going to go to item I-8, and this is Board Bylaw 2365, recording. And before I open this one up for any discussion, do I hear a motion?
I move we change the time to hold the recordings from 1 month to 1 year.
Just a point of order. Are you moving that we approve the bylaw, but amend the bylaw?
Thank you. Yes.
An amendment.
Okay. Okay. And just to be clear, the bylaw as submitted to the board has a. Is this a how long we keep the recording, how long we preserve the recording? Is that what's at issue here?
Yes.
Trustee Silver?
An audio
Okay.
or video recording of an open and public Board of Trustees meeting shall be subject to inspection by members of the public. And yes, so that it's a recorded meeting, that it's available to the public.
Okay, and the bylaw as written and presented to the board for approval states that recording should be preserved for how long?
Let me read it exactly.
30 days. It says it's 30 days.
30 days. Okay, and Trustee Silver, you're asking that we approve this bylaw, but that instead of 30 days, it be for how long?
1 year.
Okay, got it.
May
Understood.
I ask a question?
Yeah, so now we'll move on to discussion. Trustee, well, actually, let me back up. We had a have a motion, and before we go to a discussion, do we have a second?
I'll second it so
Okay.
we can discuss it.
Second for the motion as amended, and now we go to discussion. Trustee Brown.
So my question is, I think we someone had mentioned that, or we briefly discussed that. And I'm trying to understand what would be the implications, Dr. Andrew Jonas, for us to attempt to hold the recordings for that long. That's really what I'd like to know.
For 1 year?
Yes.
There's no implication.
Okay, great. Okay, that's fine.
Well,
We have the technical capabilities to do that. Trustee Chen Lao, you're up.
Right now, we hold it for how many years?
Well, I'll have Alex comment on that,
Okay.
but I'm not sure that we we're holding them for any particular reason.
Right,
but
right.
Alex, if you want to weigh in, that would be great.
I think the bylaw says at least 30 days, but I can't speak to current practice. We have recordings of meetings going back even further than Trustee Silver recommended. I believe we have recordings of back to 2011 or 2012. So we do have quite a library of our meetings on record there.
So this bylaw sets the floor, not the ceiling.
Okay. Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, it doesn't preclude us from having more recordings. It just states that we'll have at least.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any further discussion on agenda item I-8? Okay, so we're going to go to a roll call vote for item I-8. And again, as amended, where the floor, the minimum time that we would retain the recording would be 1 year. That's the bylaw as amended that we are voting on. Mr. Bucklehide, roll call vote, please.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Yeah.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
It's a vote of 7-0 with student trustee voting aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. We have one more that we pulled out for separate consideration. This is agenda item I-10. This is Board Bylaw 2725, and it's board member compensation. And I think Trustee Ramirez pulled this one. Actually, let's start with a motion and a second, and then we can go to any discussion. Do I hear a motion to approve agenda item I-10?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and now time for discussion. And Trustee Ramirez, I'll have you lead off.
Yeah, so it just, so at the policy subcommittee meeting, I asked whether there was an explanation as to why the student member is paid a different amount from other trustees. And I wanted to ask if the board would consider revisiting this policy with possible revisions of Board Bylaw 2015 and of the student member.
Okay, let's think about how to attack this. Well, first of all, we can have further discussion or a response to Trustee Ramirez's question, and possibly we could consider an amendment. I'm going to have
Trustee Osterling, you can't amend
Yes.
this policy to address what Trustee Ramirez is saying. Because
Okay.
trustee, as it says, the student trustee amount is in 2015, Board Bylaw 2015. What I would like to suggest is that Board Bylaw be agendized at the next policy committee meeting, and I believe we are identifying a date for September. And then at that point, Trustee Ramirez can come and speak to it. And then the policy committee can make a recommendation to the full board. But we can't amend this one because we've identified that as a separate board bylaw.
Thank you.
Got it. So we would be voting on this bylaw as it relates to the trustees that have been elected by the community, and you have a separate bylaw that deals with student trustee compensation, and that will be heard at the next board policy committee. So
Correct.
Your recommendation is that we deal with that through that separate bylaw, and that we not amend this this bylaw.
Yes, because an amendment is not possible.
I would like to
Okay,
give
understood.
comment. I would like to give comment.
Yeah, Trustee Wah, you're next.
So I do recall that Trustee Ramirez brought this up, and he asked for further information on Board Bylaw 2015 on the calculation for the student trustee. So when that comes up for the board subcommittee, I hope that we'll be able to get that information.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Trustee Ramirez, thank you for bringing that to our attention. And again, we'll deal with 2015 at we'll agendize that, Trustee Brown, at your next board policy committee.
Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on agenda item 10? It has been moved and seconded for approval. Hearing no further discussion, I'll call for a roll call vote. Mr. Bucklehide, agenda item I-10.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0 with student trustee voting aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. We are now moving on to agenda item I-14. This is to approve modifications and additions to the credit and non-credit curriculum. Is there any presentation on this before I call for a motion?
I will defer to Dr. Junie to introduce this item.
Unmute myself.
Here he is.
Okay, Dr. Junie, you
Yes.
are up, sir.
Sorry, it took me a minute to find my unmute. Good evening, everyone. This is pretty standard, just modifications of the curriculum, but there are a couple of things I'd like to point out to you. Again, there's a long list of courses that were approved through the emergency Form D being what allows a class to be taught online. And so the C&I committee worked over the summer to try to finish up the emergency Form Ds, even though we did not have to have them all done until the end of December, but they felt that we should get that done early. Also, many of the courses that are on here, you'll notice that a lot of them, all that's being modified in them is an updating of regular Form Ds for those courses. The other thing I wanted to point out is that there is a modification of the Certified Nursing Assistant program, the CNA program. And basically what happened in that regard is our CNA program actually lost its accreditation a number of years ago, and the faculty in that area have been working hard to regain that accreditation. They have, and so this is basically updating the program based on the new accreditation of our Certified Nursing Assistant program.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Junie. Do I hear a motion?
Move approval.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Mr. Bucklehide, and this is again for agenda item I-14.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Yeah.
Student Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chen Lao.
Aye.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0 with the student trustee voting aye.
Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. Motion carries unanimously. Now, these next four items I-15, I-16, I-17, and I-18, each involve a public hearing. So I will start with agenda item I-15. This is to accept the Sunshine Proposal from the California School Employees Association, CSEA, to the Pasadena Area Community College District, PACCD. And for agenda item I-15, I am going to, I will now open the public hearing on the proposal. Trustee Wah or Mr. Bucklehide, do you have any public comment cards on agenda item I-15?
No such comment.
Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and open this item up for voting. And first, do I hear a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, we'll call for a roll call vote. Mr. Bucklehide, agenda item I-15.
Student trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chin-Lao.
Aye.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Aye.
Trustee Waugh.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0 as a student trustee voting aye.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Next item is agenda item I-16. This is to accept the Sunshine proposal from the Pasadena Area Community College District, PACCD, to the California School Employees Association, CSEA. And again, we will open the public hearing on this proposal. Trustee Waugh or Mr. Bucklehide, do you have any public comment cards for agenda item I-16?
No such comment.
Okay, seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and I will call for a motion on agenda item I-16.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, I will again call for a roll call vote, and this is for item I-16. Mr. Bucklehide.
And Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chin-Lao.
Aye.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Aye.
Trustee Waugh.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Aye.
Vote is 7-0 with the student trustee voting aye.
Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. Item I-17, accept the initial proposal from the Pasadena City College Federation of Teachers, Local 6525, PCC-CFT, to the Pasadena Area Community College District, PACCD. I will now open the public hearing on this proposal. Trustee Waugh or Mr. Bucklehide, do you have any public comment cards on agenda item I-17?
No such comment.
Seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and call for a motion on item I-17.
Move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I will call for a vote on item I-17. Mr. Bucklehide, roll call vote, please.
Student trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chin-Lao.
Aye.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Aye.
Trustee Waugh.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0 with the student trustee voting aye.
Thank you, Mr. Bucklehide. Agenda item I-18. This is to accept the initial proposal from the Pasadena Area Community College District, PACCD, to the Pasadena City College Federation of Teachers, Local 6525, PCC-CFT. And again, I will open the public hearing on agenda item I-18 for the proposal. Trustee Waugh or Mr. Bucklehide, do you have any public comment cards on item I-18?
No such comment.
Okay, seeing none, I will now close the public hearing and call for a motion.
I'll move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded, and any discussion? Call for a roll call vote. Item I-18, Mr. Bucklehide, please.
Student trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chin-Lao.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Waugh.
Yes.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Yes.
The vote is 7-0 with the student trustee voting aye.
Thank you, Mr. Buckelheid. We're now moving on to agenda item I-19. This is to approve the Memorandum of Understanding between the Pasadena Area Community College District, PACCD, and the Pasadena City College Faculty Association, PCCFA.
Trustee Osterling? Trustee Osterling?
Yes.
I'd like
Yes.
to have Alex not ask for the student trustees vote on this because I do not believe he can vote on it. And I need to go back and look at the sunshine proposal rule. But I know that he actually cannot vote on the MOU.
Okay. And are you also questioning whether the student trustee vote is required or permitted for items 15, 16, 17, and 18, or are we good with those?
No, I'm going to question that, but I know
Okay.
for sure that the MOU should not have a student trustee vote. So I just wanted to make sure
Okay.
that vote was not taken, and then if needed, we can make note of this in the minutes for the meeting.
Okay, thank you for bringing up that point of order. So before I call for a vote on item I-19, I'm going to just make a note for the record, and Superintendent Androgenis, tell me if I've got this right. You will go and research if a student trustee vote is allowed on the votes that we have already held for 15, 16, and 17. And if it's not, you would just amend the record to delete the student vote on the official record. We don't need to re-vote or anything like that.
It is correct that you do not need to re-vote, but I would not delete the student vote. What I will do is put a notation in the minutes that the vote was should not have recorded the student's vote, but I won't delete the record, if you know what I mean.
Okay, fair enough. And I see Trustee Ramirez's hand is up. You are up next, David. Go ahead, sir.
Just wanted to ask, if I can't have an advisory vote on this item, does that mean I'm also not allowed to have a discussion, since it's essentially the same thing?
No, you can address these issues. You can be part of the conversation, but in items related to personnel, you don't have an advisory vote. But there is a question about the sunshine proposal piece because it's a gray area. So I'm going to clarify that. But you always have the ability to make comment, whether you get to vote or not. On items, you always have the right to make comment.
Okay, so thank you for that point of order and how we will clear that up if need be. And so now on item I-19, I'm going to call for a motion.
I move approval.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. And again, this will just be the all of the trustees, but not the student trustee. For Mr. Buckelheid, roll call vote for item I-19, please.
Trustee Chen Lau.
Yes.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Yes.
Trustee Wah.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0 with no student advisory vote.
Okay, motion carries unanimously. Agenda item I-20. This is to accept the grant award Student Support Services, SSS program. Any presentation on this, Dr. Androgenis?
I will ask Dr. Olivo to introduce this item.
Okay, Dr. Olivo, you have the floor.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, there you go.
Hi, I just want to make sure you can see me and hear me. I'm using two devices. So I just want to thank the board for reviewing this grant award for our PASS program. And I also want to thank Maggie Regalado Rivera, the director of this federal TRIO program. We're very excited that we were offered a renewal and extension on this grant. And I thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Olivo, and also thank you for your presentation at the Chancellor's webinar today as well on diversity and equity. Okay, I'm going to call for a motion here.
I move we accept.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'm going to call for a roll call vote. Mr. Bucklehide, and this is a roll call vote on agenda item I-20.
Student trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chenlau.
Aye.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver.
Aye.
Trustee Waugh.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Aye.
Vote is 7-0 with a student trustee voting aye.
Thank you again, Dr. Olivo, and motion carries unanimously. Moving on to agenda item 21. This is to approve the Equal Employment Opportunity, EEO, 9 multiple method model. Before I call for a motion on this, is there any presentation or discussion?
I will ask Bob Lazinski, Vice President of HR, to introduce this. You're muted.
Good afternoon, everyone. Before you is an annual report that we supply to the Chancellor's Office regarding our EEO efforts as it relates to our EEO plan, which is normally a 3-year plan. This year actually is the year that we will be reviewing our plan and making the appropriate changes. But what you see before you is the efforts that the district has made in the past year for the last year of the plan. Once again, there are 9 different areas that we're required to do at least 6 of those areas and report on. We have already submitted this. We've submitted the draft to the California Chancellor's Office and has already received funding based on the responses of our plan. It's just requiring certification from the board.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Blazinski. Do I hear a motion on agenda item 21?
Motion to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Item 21.
Yes, I have my hand raised.
Trustee Waugh, you have the floor.
Yeah, so the EEO plans and have been in discussion with our boards for some time, and I think now that we're looking at the work of the diversity, equity, inclusion groups, one of the calls to actions is the board more actively engage in this review. So I know that the district has to comply with certain legal requirements, as well as the Chancellor's Office will be coming out with their own standards on this in the upcoming year. But I hope that we will have a chance to engage the board, maybe either through a study session so that we have a better understanding of the board's role and how the EEO plans will get implemented and how they serve our students.
Thank you, Trustee Waugh. Any further discussion on agenda item I-21? It's been moved and seconded, and seeing no further discussion, I'm going to go to a roll call vote. Again, this is item I-21. Mr. Bucklehide.
Student trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Chenlau.
Aye.
Trustee Osterling.
Yes.
Trustee Brown.
Yes.
Trustee Silver,
Aye.
Trustee Wah,
Aye.
Trustee Martin,
Yes.
Trustee Fellow.
Aye.
The vote is 7-0 with the student trustee voting aye.
Okay. Mr. Bucklehide, I think you can finally relax now. We're done with all of the voting items. We're going to move on to agenda item J, which is information items, and this is our superintendent president's report. Dr. Androgenis, you have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. I'd like to start my report by pausing for a moment in memory of Anthony McLean from Northwest Pasadena, who was killed on Saturday in an officer-involved shooting. The facts of the incident are still being established, and we must let that process run its course. But still, Anthony's death came too early, and I'll say it clearly, his life matters. We extend our thoughts to his family and his friends, including his cousin, Imante Vaughn Davis, who was formerly a student in our UGMA program. So I just, really important to take a moment. Thank you. Fall is upon us. Our classes start on Monday. We are fully remote, except for our health sciences, our welding and auto. Our enrollment has been quite a challenge. We are definitely in uncharted territory, but you know, we're not alone. Many districts across the state are reporting being down by pretty large percentages. We still have time. Our classes start on Monday. We have late start classes. We have options, but it is a challenge. And but we're ready to start the new academic year. Our professional development day is this coming Friday, and our theme is interrupting systems of advantage, not a passive exercise. And there will be extensive opportunities for discussion and reflection on our mission to educate with equity and justice. Earlier this week, PUSD started their school year, and for another year, PCC was helping get things underway. We're very grateful to Dr. William Sims and the 100 Black Men of Pasadena for continuing their tradition of welcoming back PUSD students. And special thanks to the PCC Foundation for donating $1,000 for school supplies for that effort. Next week, we will be starting a new COVID-19 testing regimen at the college. All employees who are reporting to campus will be tested, and they must receive a negative test to come to our facilities. So we'll start that testing, and then the testing will be monthly. Positive tests will be immediately referred to a physician and Pasadena Public Health Department. We will also couple this with a self-administered health survey screening for COVID-19 exposure. And we are basically going above and beyond health department guidelines. And at this point in time, we have managers and classified staff mostly coming to campus 1 day a week. We do have some managers, myself, some of the vice presidents. We are here more days a week. We also have our amazing, hardworking classified custodians and maintenance and operations workers who are here every day, and our cadets, and everybody will be tested. And it's really important. We need to make sure that everybody's safe. And then finally, we are about to implement, or we are implementing socially distanced Wi-Fi access to students and others in parking lot 3. It'll be drive-up Wi-Fi access. Students will remain in their cars, work on laptops or other devices, and then drive away. And more information on that will be coming soon. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Dr. Androgenis. We'll now go to agenda item K, and this is our announcements by shared governance representatives and Board of Trustees, item K1. And we're going to start with associated students, and I think I see Mackenzie out there. Mackenzie, are you ready to report?
Yep, I'm ready to report.
Thank you. You have the floor.
So for associated students, we've been keeping very busy. Right now, our vice president of campus activities, Alice Quintanar, and our Vice President of Student Service, Maluisa Milian. They've been working together to have a virtual welcome week to keep engaging with our students during this time and during remote learning. We have invited several departments to help share resources, to just engage with our students to keep that student morale alive. Our Executive Vice President, Christopher Thung, has been working on filming this entire week for a virtual club rush for our students, which we plan on posting online on our website so that the students have access to this for the entire year. And our External Vice President is actually working for Welcome Week to have a voter registration event so that our students can get registered as soon as possible and make sure that their votes are included this year. I will actually be a speaker at Professional Development Day. I'm supposed to be the opening speaker to recognize the native land. And right now we have been receiving many applications for our 2 vacant positions of business affairs and publicity. Hopefully we will have a full board in the next few weeks. And that is all I have for my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Next, we have classified Senate. And Shireen, are you going to report on classified?
Hi, this is actually Monica Palacios.
Oh, okay. My apologies, Monica. Go ahead.
No worries. Good evening, everybody. My name is Monica Palacios. I am the Vice President of the Classified Senate. Denise, who is our Board of Trustees representative, was not able to be here tonight, so I am filling in for her. And I may be doing that throughout the rest of the academic year. I'm happy to share that the Senate has done a lot of work since the last Board of Trustees meeting. Our board had a retreat earlier this month, identifying key goals and outcomes for the entire 2020-2021 academic year. Some of our goals included mapping events we would like to have, also reintroduction of the Classified Senate Scholarship for students and our classified colleagues. In addition to that, we are discussing and creating an action plan on how the Classified Senate can be more active in our shared governance roles. On behalf of the Classified Senate, I would like to extend a huge thank you to our entire classified staff. We have been informed of different levels of creativity, problem solving, and hard work the Classified Senate has done across the college in preparation for the fall semester in this new normal. The Senate will continue to support our classified colleagues, and we are looking forward to Professional Day this coming Friday to continue to learn and find new ways to support not only our students and staff and faculty, but the rest of the campus community, especially during these uncertain times. Thank you.
I do have a question.
Monica, Monica, thank you for filling in. And Trustee Chen Lao, you have the floor.
Yes, great. Thank you so much, Monica. My question, as I've asked, the faculty, Matt, as well, is how are your classified colleagues doing, in terms of adjusting to their work, and how are they managing? What are you hearing from your colleagues?
So what we've heard, everybody's trying to do their best they can. It's been, of course, a little challenging working from home for some of them, not having the adequate, whether it's a computer or, Wi-Fi and whatnot. But they're doing the best they can. They're communicating with their deans or their supervisors, and they're also letting us know. Definitely communication from our president, Dr. Andrew Jonas, it has been extremely helpful for everybody. And as well as the communication emails that Alex sends out, that's definitely been extremely helpful for everybody.
Great, thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you, Monica. We're going to move on to management, and I see Carlos Tito Altamirano. You have the floor, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening. Actually, I'd simply like to thank our managers for their arduous work this summer. These efforts have been directed towards creating our first ever totally virtual Professional Development Day taking place this coming Friday, as already been mentioned, for which Dr. Jason Robinson deserves an extra special acknowledgement. And of course, for Monday, the first day of a completely different fall semester, using what we learned from the spring and summer sessions, our goal is to provide a clear and concise support for all of our students, especially for those who are underrepresented and those who have been historically underserved, along with supporting our staff and faculty. So a simple thank you to our managers for your ongoing commitment to change our practices and procedures in order to best serve our college. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Tito. Faculty Senate, Dr. Matt Hennis.
Hello. Just a few things to report. The institutional self-evaluation report, the ICER draft, is complete. The Senate will have its reads in September on that. It weighs in at about 240 pages. We've been making sure that faculty seats on college council subcommittees are staffed. And the conversations that I'm hearing around, via email among the faculty are around how to maintain academic integrity in this environment, which I take to be a good thing. Let me explain. If that's where we are, then that tells me that folks are where they need to be with preparations. I'm not hearing, I don't have the equipment I need. I'm not hearing, I don't have the support that I need. I'm hearing, how can we, make sure that our students are showing us what they've learned in ways that work for us and for them as well. And then finally, our first Academic Senate meeting is August 31st, and it'll be followed by our retreat in which we'll be setting goals for the year. That's pretty much all I've got.
Thank you, Matt. And we will now move on to trustee reports. And we will start with our student trustee, David Ramirez. David, you have the floor, sir.
All right, good evening, everyone. I just want to reiterate some of the things that Mackenzie said, and that AS is working on establishing an interactive website to provide a space for clubs on campus to promote themselves and for students to see what student body associations are out there for them to join. We are also actively looking into ways that we can virtualize traditional campus events, such as Homecoming Week, Midterm Madness, Student Services Awareness Week, because these are events that have been very helpful resources in keeping students engaged with their studies. So hopefully we will have more finalized plans in the coming weeks. I also did want to thank Associate Vice President Candace Jones for being so responsive. She's really been there for us, for AS, and held meetings with us to talk about student access, and I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Ramirez. And now, in no particular order, as you appear on my Brady Bunch Zoom screen, we will start with Trustee Berlinda Brown.
Well, thank you. Unfortunately, I have no report tonight. So moving along.
Or fortunately, as the case may be. Next on my screen is Trustee Martin.
Thank you. Last week at the Trustee League seminar on Thursdays, I think that was originated by our own Trustee Waugh, Andy Solinsky of VP CFO of Butte College spoke, and it was really did an exceptional job. And I know many of our other trustees were on the call. The one or two points that I thought were really fascinating, he made many, that I wanted to report back to everyone. We had a little consternation when we approved an 18% reserve ratio, but Mr. Solinsky reported to us that the state average reserve was actually 21 to 22%. I thought that was an interesting statistic. Another interesting statistic that he reported as a state average was that compensation comprised 87 to 88% of community college budgets. I think we're very close to that. I think we might be maybe just a touch higher than that. But I thought, again, it's really nice because we listen to try to hear how are we doing compared to other districts. Are we close? What's reasonable? We're always listening for those kinds of things. And so I thought when he came out with those stats, everyone would find them interesting as well. That's my report.
Yeah, Trustee Martin, thanks for that report. And in fact, that was one of the more comprehensive and yet cogent presentations that I've ever seen on community college budgeting, which is incredibly complex. And actually, I was wondering if you could get his slides from that presentation. I know they're available, and pare them down to those that you think are relevant, and perhaps make a presentation perhaps at our next meeting. I thought that was a really good presentation and slideshow.
We can get those slides. That would be pretty easy. I believe they're housed within the Vision for Success resources. And selfishly, I'm planning to look at them because next Tuesday night, I start teaching a graduate class at CSUN entitled Community College Finance and Enrollment Management.
Yeah, that was one of the better, thank you for doing that. That was one of the better presentations that I've seen and very helpful. Okay, let's see. Next on my screen is Trustee Silver.
Well, I'd like to let everybody know Sandra Chen Lau and I are going to have a community town hall next Thursday at 5 o'clock. And it's a sticky situation because of the Brown Act. So it's just us two. And I think Dr. Androgenis is advising none of you. Erica, can you come back and advise? I think it's just don't come. But we want to let you know we're doing it. We're so looking forward to talking to our constituents about all the good things that are happening at PCC. And
yes, and please don't come.
Okay.
Yeah, just because, you know, it's so hard. You all are so dedicated to what you do as elected trustees. And so it's really hard. I've seen this happen in other districts where trustees are, you know, identified as maybe the two people who are speaking, but then other trustees are there and they want to, oh yeah, and you know, and then it could wind up being a board meeting, and we don't want that.
Yeah, so I just want to say Sandra came up with the idea. Hats off to her. Thank you, Sandra, for having the idea to reach out.
Thank you, Trustee Silver and Trustee Chen Lau, even though we haven't heard your report yet. Question for Dr. Androgenis. If you gave them a YouTube one-way feed, could the trustees just watch through a YouTube feed?
Absolutely.
Okay.
They could have a YouTube feed, so it would function just like a board committee. Yeah. Yeah.
So Tammy and Sandra, if you send that to the other trustees, not as a Zoom, but as a YouTube feed, I would encourage our other trustees to watch as long as we do it in that venue. Let's see, next on my screen is Trustee Fellow.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to give a shout out to Dr. Cynthia Olivo, who solves lots of problems for students in my district and for me. And I just want to tell her I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Fellow. And I'll echo that. We had some enrollment issues for first-time attendees for summer school, and Dr. Olivo and her staff stepped in and took care of those. So I would like to echo and amplify what Dr. Fellow just said. And then next on my screen is Trustee Chen Lau.
Hi, everyone. Certainly, I'd like to echo Trustee Silver's comments about it's really a back to school conversation, you know, with the trustees. So it's not so formal. We wanted just to get a check-in with everyone to see how everyone's doing, what their questions may be. And certainly, you know, we love to hear from students, you know, and families prospective students who might be thinking about coming to PCC, and hopefully we can, you know, answer some questions, and we really like to meet, you know, the folks in our community. I did attend the Amend Professional Development Seminar on equity and racial equity. And it was just a really inspiring conversation with the Black authors and writers and faculty. And the takeaway that I got from that is really that as an institution, PCC, we have to look at ourselves to see what the policies that we have that we can certainly to look at the policies that we have that can advance racial equity. And it's something that's going to be a daily work that we do. And I'm looking forward to continuing to learn from that. And hopefully there are going to be more seminars coming up that we can participate in. And I do have a question I'll use my time and ask David Ramirez the question, how are the students feeling about coming back to PCC for the fall? I mean, you know, now that we know that we're completely online and most of the classes are set, I mean, what are you hearing from the students?
I wouldn't say it's something, okay. So as some of you have already found out, there have been technical issues with the waitlisting. And so I think starting off already, there is some uncertainty. And that's about what I would say.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Chen Lao. And last and certainly not least, Trustee Wah.
Yeah, so I appreciate getting the comment from Trustee Martin on the trustee webinar on the budget. I had gotten that comment. I saw it through the chat from Trustee Osterling. So it's been one of the things when I was president last year was really trying to get the league to align their workshops with topics that were relevant to us trustees today. I think education is changing and we can no longer continue to operate just status quo without really looking at how we, without a continuous improvement. So that webinar was the proposal for ETP training. So it was part of the ETP budget training module. So if you were signed up for that, then you can apply that to your ETP credit. So one of the things I had given them feedback on is I really felt that they needed to change the format to make it more relevant. And I was also really pleased that they were able to do that. So from now on, we will continue to have trustee webinars to update the trustees on the ongoing work and your role. But we are going to reserve the fourth Thursday of every month for trustee training, ETP training. And so, Dr. Intrajonis, if you want to get that webinar, you just need to go to the league website and search for, so it's the same, it's kind of the same spot that the CEO webinars are in. And then I just wanted to remind everyone that the next trustee webinar, so this is tomorrow actually, will be on EEOs. And this is under work group 2's work. And we have Foothill De Anza staff coming in to speak, as well as the diversity director from City College in San Francisco. Following that, we will have a webinar following week on exit interviews. So the work of DEI work group 4, exit interviews and employee evaluations. And then a joint caucus town hall thereafter. So all of our caucuses will be at the table talking about equity and anti-racist issues. As you probably know, both the ACCT and the league's conferences that are normally scheduled respectively in October and then November will all be virtual. So the ACCT conference will be October 1 through the 5th. in October 1, I had put in a request for a presentation, which got accepted. So we will be doing a update for all the trustees across the nation, I guess, since it's ACCT, on financial aid, and our own Dr. Andrew Jonas will be on that panel. So I hope you all tune in.
And Linda, that's, the conference is actually, isn't it 5th through the 8th? Remember, it changed to the following
Oh, that's
week,
right. Yes.
which also happens to be our Aspen visit by the Aspen visiting team. So we're going to have fun juggling all those things.
But I know you can do it. Semper Gumby.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm all in.
So the CCLC conference will be in November 17th to 20th. And we had also submitted a DEI workshop. So we'll be bringing in Dr. Gonzalez from the Chancellor's Office, as well as some of our trustees, to talk about the DEI work that we hope all trustees will begin to engage in across their districts. And that is it.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Waugh. And my report will be brief. I just want to thank everybody at PCC that is not only involved in our responsibilities at PCC, but also have been very actively involved in statewide activities. I apologize in advance. I know I'm going to miss some names here, but Dr. Olivo and Trustee Waugh were part of the diversity presentation at the Chancellor's Office gave. Recently, Dr. Androgianis, Trustee Silver, Ramirez, and Fellow are frequent attendees. And I think all of our fellow colleges benefit from hearing from representatives of an Aspen top 10 college. But I think we here at PCC also benefit from hearing what's going on all around the state and helping us in what we do at PCC. So thank you to everybody that is so involved. And I forgot to mention Trustee Martin and keeps up to date as best we can in these times of COVID. And of course, last but not least, because I have not mentioned Trustee Waugh, the tireless Trustee Waugh, who was very involved well before this, and I think she's the one who keeps volunteering all of us for these assignments. So thank you for keeping us involved, Trustee Waugh. And then lastly, and it's already been said, our hearts go out to Anthony McLean, another victim of a fatal shooting by the Pasadena Police Department. We don't know the facts and circumstances yet, but what we do know is a young life was snuffed out much too soon. I have great confidence in our fellow elected officials at the Pasadena City College, in particular, City Council member John Kennedy, who sits on the Police Oversight Committee and is working hard to institute reform of the police department and civilian oversight. And I hope those efforts by Council member Kennedy and Mayor Tornick are successful, and that we can have a better oversight and a better police department result from this latest tragedy. We will adjourn the meeting today in memory of Mr. McLean. And that concludes my comments. And our last agenda items, we're almost done here, folks, is proposed future board business. I'm sorry, Tammy, Trustee Silver, I didn't see your hand there. My apologies.
I just wanted to be sure that Trustee Brown is acknowledged for all the many, many league meetings she attends.
Oh my gosh, I missed Trustee Brown. I knew I would. Yes, she is. I knew I'd get in trouble if I missed somebody. And yes, Trustee Brown, I see you at virtually every one of those. Thank you. Thanks to you as well. Thank you for mentioning that, Trustee Silver. We are on agenda item K2, proposed future board business meeting dates. Any requests for changes? Superintendent Androgenis, I'll just have you announce the date of our upcoming board retreat. Just put that on the record and remind the trustees.
We do. We have a board retreat next Tuesday, August 25th from 2 until 6.
Okay, and that of course will be via Zoom meeting. So if you haven't received a Zoom calendar event for that, let Dr. Androgenis or Mr. Bucklehide know, and we'll make sure that everybody attends that.
Right, and there also will be a YouTube feed because it is an open meeting. There is a short closed session at the end of the meeting, but it is an open meeting. So just want to make sure everybody knows.
So we'll do the closed session at the end.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good. Okay. Next is item K3, proposed future agenda items. Do we have any proposals? Okay.
So I would like to propose 2 things.
Okay, Trustee Waugh.
Yes, I know that Dr. Androgenis and staff are looking into the issues of the international students. So I would like to see a report back on that. I know that there will be some work between now and then, and there's some urgency to this, but at least have a report back at our next meeting. And then I would also like to recommend that with the EEO plans now due and much of the DEI work that's coming forward and the EEO webinar that we're going to be having with the trustees tomorrow, that we find some time to have some deeper discussions about EEO and the work and the responsibility of the trustees and their involvement in the EEO plans.
Okay, Superintendent Androgenis, can we add the report on the international students and the fees to the agenda for our next meeting?
Yes, although I'm not clear on the EEO plan timing that Trustee Waugh is requesting.
So I think it probably is not really suitable for a board agenda item. I was thinking of it more for a study session, so the trustees got a better sense of what we're doing with the EEO, and maybe some of that information will emerge tomorrow. So I know we're having a trustee webinar on that. But there's been a lot of discussion at the DEI committees about greater involvement of the trustees in understanding the EEO plans and how that fits in with the priorities that we set for the district and our own community needs.
Okay, all right.
Possible suggestion, Trustee Waugh, I'm not certain how long that might take, but would we be able to fit that into our upcoming retreat next week?
I have to say you have kind of a full agenda, so I prefer to do a study session at a subsequent meeting, and that's a pretty quick turnaround. So maybe
it is.
September meeting we could do a study session versus less than a week from now.
That sounds like good advice. That's what we'll do. Okay. All right. We are now at everybody's favorite part of the meeting, adjournment. We are going to adjourn the meeting once again in memory of those victims and their families of the COVID-19 vaccine. I was thinking back, and we're now in the 6th month, and we still hope for a vaccine to end this scourge, and so we can all get back to our normal lives. And lastly, we will adjourn the meeting in memory of Mr. Anthony McLean, who was fatally shot in an incident with the Pasadena Police Department. And that being said, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everybody, and stay safe.